Before each candidate starts, I'm going to give a brief biography, and I've got to rustle these around and find the right one. Okay, so the first candidate and presenter is Stuart Bell. Stuart is a Whangarei local. He spent his childhood and teenage years living in rural Whangarei on a family farm, moved into town, worked as a builder, and contracted to bike Northland from 1992 to 2010. He's got a partner, Kate, and his 2 teenage children, and a dog and 2 budgies. This is all important. And he likes mountain biking, off-road running, and motocross racing. Please welcome Stuart Bell.
Okay, I am Stuart Bell. This is where I grew up. It's where I spent my childhood. And, farming wasn't always easy. Parents sometimes looked at walking off the farm. But for me as a kid, it was a huge playground. It was somewhere where I could go out and do things. There's always plenty of things to do. And, neighbours next door. But then, this is where I live now. And my vision for Whangarei is that kids grow up in this environment as well, still look back when they're adults, and they can say, that was my playground, that was where I wanted to grow up. Okay, this could be about unemployment, but I sort of went down the fertilising youth, trying to say, okay, we've got to deal with our youth and get them so they're not filling their brains with the stuff that's turning it into Swiss cheese. We need to nurture our youth and give them things to do. Otherwise they do this. They're very artistically expressive, I guess, but that's on the back of a building we've got here that's locked behind fences, and they don't get to use it, so they turn to art as their outlet, and it's just getting worse at the moment, so I'd like to change that. And this is something that they can do, freely accessible. That's my old primary school out in the country. But kids like to test their boundaries and see where their limits are. Usually nowadays it involves wheels, skateboards, bikes, that sort of thing. But I think we need more of that around town. And this is another one of those lovely buildings. It's the back of our multi-event centre. But again, it's locked behind gates, and our kids don't really get to use it very much. It serves a purpose. We'll get some soccer games here. We had a Rugby World Cup, and that's all fine. But for the amount of money that's gone into it and the amount of use it gets, I think it could have been better spent. This is another thing that we spent some money on, but it's not about the bridge, this one. This is about our harbour. And I don't know if that's a river bridge or a harbour bridge, but we'll call it a harbour bridge. But our rivers and everything that flows into that harbour, we've got to look after our harbour. They spent a lot of money doing the wastewater system, and that's good. This was just a shot I took. We built this new bridge and a new road, and I looked at the roundabout coming out onto Riverside Drive, and there's a big traffic jam, and I thought, well, how did that work? We need to be planning ahead so we don't have these issues. I'm sure it's a one-off. But, it was just there. But my view, I work for Bike Northland, and so I've seen some answers. And this guy, he actually ended up around the back of Abbey Caves Road in a driveway up there. He commutes on his bike. And I think we can do more in the city to make cycle commuting, walking, active transport a bigger part of getting A to B. And the people in the cars, don't have to worry about it. These are some lovely trees. I was going to talk about our natural environment and attracting tourists and that sort of stuff. And then I read the paper today. Our French tourists here, 5 days in the country, parked up at AH Reid, got their car ripped off. So before we worry about getting the tourists, we've got to fix a few other problems. And this was a rail track, and there's a lot of discussion about the rail out to the point, and I was going to go down that thing saying, hey, that's cool, but that's not going to happen. News today again out of Ports of Auckland, they've got another 30 years before they're running out of capacity, so I sort of turned around, thought, is our council on track? And maybe not. This is the nice big truck and little road. So our roads are quite small, trucks are quite big. This was at a bikes and trucks day we did. And we put the cyclists in the cabs so they could see what it's like for the drivers. And we weren't allowed to drive the trucks, that wasn't really fair, but we did have a good day. And then we put the truck drivers on a bike. And of course we had Aaron Edwards taking a photo opportunity in the background. But same thing, it was about sharing and understanding, and I don't think we've got enough of that in our community. We judge people before we know what they're up against, and I think a lot can be learned from that sort of approach. Okay, this is about beauty. How do we see Whangarei? I mean, we all love it here. I mean, that's the logo. But for people outside of Whangarei, do we need to trim our nostril hairs and brush our hair and straighten our teeth? Or are we okay? To another alpaca, this is probably a babe, but I don't know. This is our treatment plant. We just spent a few million fixing it up. Good for the harbour, and I think that's overdue. But our infrastructure, we've got a bow wave of maintenance on our roading infrastructure that if we don't look after that and prioritise that, it's going to sink the boat. Okay, last night I was at a meeting and this question came up, and I don't know why, I'm always first. This could be the alphabet thing, but even tonight it was lucky dip and I'm still first. But this is quite divisive. I don't think it should have happened the way it has, and I think there's some answers that need to be made up by the new council in a firm definition. Now, this is our dog. Pretty pink dress, thanks to my niece. And the thing is, this dog's still a sock-stealing, bark at the neighbours, chase the cats dog. And so when you're selecting your candidates, maybe look beyond what their outside is and look inside them and get their personality. Something I like about Whangarei, it produces opportunity. There's two girls in this photo that are from Whangarei, and this is the New Zealand BMX team. And they raced against the Australians in 2010, and we like beating the Australians as much as we like winning the America's Cup. So there's potential here to do anything, and I really embrace that. Now, this guy's a good leader, apparently, but he cared about the people. He cared about all the people, but he got shot. And I hope if I'm mayor, I don't get shot. So, in closing, my vision for Whangarei is somewhere where kids, when they grow up, they can say it was a great place to grow up. And people that are living here, adults working, playing, end of the day, they can say they're proud to live in Whangarei. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Stuart. I think it's a great format. It gives you a chance to get to know the candidates a little bit, what their sense of humour's like, and gives you a real insight, those pictures that they choose. So I think we're in for a great night. Next up, I'd like to introduce Warren Slater. And we got each candidate to provide a brief biography. Warren describes himself as 61 years young, a good, no-nonsense Kiwi bloke who's been married to Pat for 42 years and a certain number of months, days, hours and minutes, loving every second of it. And he's obviously a family-oriented sort of guy. He and his wife have a much-loved daughter and a great son-in-law and an awesome grandson. Warren's mission is to work with others in his community to make a difference. Please welcome Warren Slater.
Good evening, I'm Warren Slater and I stand before you willing to work with you for the next 3 years. October the 12th this year is an important time for the future of Whangarei. I've been asked for my vision for Whangarei, and I believe any projects for Whangarei must have input and approval from the community at large for projects to unfold. We must ensure democracy prevails by insisting that every policy, project and action of Council complies with the spirit and the letter of the Acts before us. Democracy is a word, but it also requires action. I'd like to have Council meetings webcast and have genuine public forums where constituents can have issues addressed. If you don't know, you can't fix it. On election, I will immediately take steps necessary to have Council finances forensically audited to reveal the nature and extent of Council's debt burden, its exposure to future interest rate increases and the implications of arrears of maintenance of Council roads, footpaths, services and property. Many agree we are unsure of our real debt. Council must work with all agencies and groups to address social issues and crime in Whangarei. The community must own it and work together on the issues of graffiti, truancy, bullying, suicide, drugs, etc. and assist these groups on the fine work they do and support them by showing it's not okay. I trust elected councillors support these ideals. The next 3 years is about what you want. By attending council meetings since 2006, we have experienced a variety of styles, some great, some good and some appalling. I believe everyone deserves to be treated fairly, honestly and with respect. The people in our society pay the bills. Yes, they pay for the mayor, councillors and staff at council. My website evolved to keep people informed about council meetings and letters to the media. Facebook is a tool where we have networked through our groups and gathered opinions from many in the community. We have used LinkedIn for connecting with many professionals and in 2012 awarded as one of the top 5% extensively endorsed sites viewed that year. I think it is time we're a tad smarter. We have a diabetes centre in Manu with no footpath outside. Many with diabetes have mobility issues. We have intersection improvements with pathways too narrow for disability access and cycleways that are narrow on highways and become a safety issue, but allowing for vegetation to have more control. We have seen signs that we need not to be seeing. Our processes should be open and transparent, no deals behind closed doors, and most importantly, be initiated by the community, with input from our many varied sectors throughout the complete processes until they are finished to a satisfactory level. There should be nothing about us without us. HUNDERTWASSER. Do I want it? It's whether the majority want it. I'm not personally against the project, but believe it need not be funded by ratepayers. I understand a group is raising funds, so maybe when the funds are in, they should buy the property, fund it, run it, reap any profits and suffer any losses. Ratepayers tell me they do not want it or the ongoing expenses for this project. Love a clean public toilet. Many use those large fast food outlets when tripping around. How about Whangarei's tourist route being famous for the cleanest and best serviced restrooms in New Zealand? We have the scenic spots for them. It's an idea. They could have attendants present and be adjacent to information centres. With a bit of paperwork, it's something to go on. Whangarei has a wonderful panoramic views from the top of our high peaks. Many people are of similar opinion to ours. The sites for Mount Parihaka are fantastic, looking over the town and harbour. With a vision and the will to do it, this feature could be made so much more accessible and breathtaking with a trip up there and back on gondolas. A multi-purpose civic centre for our performing arts has been a plan in the making for over 37 years to provide facilities for concerts, plays, musicals, orchestras and ballet, to name a few. I believe it's time to cater to that sector of the community and build the auditorium within 8 years as per the long-term plan. It would then be 45 years of waiting. There was talk of a university or language school at One Tree Point. As your mayor, I would love to work with those willing to build such a complex. Council should encourage such a facility, as these types of institutions are in demand, and the rewards to a community with people arriving to learn new skills creates positive stimulus, employment and much needed spending in our community. Yes, I am Slater, but I have not just crawled out from under a log 8 weeks out from an election in the hope of getting a job. I've been interested enough for the long haul, attending over 377 meetings since 2006. I've taken an active interest and have been bold enough to help those less fortunate by speaking out. So I believe I am unique, passionate and ready to serve you. Whangarei has so much to offer. Our magnificent scenery, beautiful landscapes, Limestone Island, our harbour and its many beaches, street activities, museum attractions, many national and international sporting competitions, international car rallies, all-weather horse racing track, paintball, golf courses, you name it, we've got it all. It's all here for the picking. But wait, there's more. There's an aquatic centre, lunchtime concerts and exhibitions in the old library, walkways, quarry gardens, growers market, the world-renowned Packard and Pioneer Museum, cycleways, up-to-the-date public library, artisans' fair, numerous concerts, art displays, and the Whangarei people. Don't you just love it here? A little history. My grandfather, Harry Crozier from Scotland, was wounded at Gallipoli and learnt the art of Maori carving for occupational therapy. Today, I have a piece of his work with me, and that is local culture. We care for my 93-year-old mother. My wife Patricia is supportive and shares these visions for Whangarei. Let's hope this also confirms any myths. I do have parents. The election is about you. Consider your options. Do you want the same as you have? If the answer is no, then considering existing or previous councillors may be a mistake. If you believe a change is needed, that option is available. I am prepared to make that change and the hard decisions when they are raised for an open, transparent and inclusive council. There is a plan. Once elected, I will guide a new team of councillors, insisting on a user-friendly council to encourage investment into our town. We all must understand our infrastructure and focus on prudent financial management to prioritise needs while making decisions to represent everyone fairly, working with community input to face any challenges. This is not a solo journey, and all sectors need to be represented fairly. If this sounds like what you believe is good for Whangarei, then please spread the word. It is your opportunity to select a mayor that will represent your community into the future. If you don't like what I advocate, then when speaking about it to others, at least mention Warren Slater. Thanks for your time and drive home safely. Oh, yes, and I forgot, the America's Cup at Marsden Cove.